Good morning, good day, or good evening, wherever you may be joining us today. My name is Dr. Christian Koch. I am the Director of Research at the Gulf Research Center, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to the 2021 Gulf Research Meeting, which, as you all will see, of course, takes place virtually this year. The last 18 months have really changed many things, and certainly for us on the research side in the way we conduct our business, again, conduct studies, teach, even participate in events. And in short, the COVID pandemic has, of course, impacted us all. But therefore, at the outset, I really want to state that I hope that everyone joining us today and your families are well and safe, and that your own situation has not been subject to too many disruptions over the past year and a half. Due to the pandemic, the 2020 Gulf Research Meeting had to be canceled or postponed. And even 1 year later, circumstances are still such that a personal meeting has not been possible, and therefore we are meeting virtually. But nevertheless, it's really great to see that so many of you representing the Gulf scholarly community have agreed to once again join us and come together and to ensure that GRM can remain part of the regular conference calendar. Now, technology has fortunately advanced to the point that we can link meeting and sitting in Washington, the United States, Europe, stretching as far as East Asia, Australia. This by itself, of course, is a unique opportunity that can ensure that we maintain communication and links. And while a virtual meeting is far from ideal, I think the Gulf Research Center still very much feels that holding GRM remains essential, because the world certainly has not stood still even during the pandemic. The Gulf region continues to witness tremendous amounts of transition at the political, economic, security, and social level, with a great deal of volatility that, of course, impacts also the region's stability. And I think all of that requires in-depth focus, discussion, and debate. And I'm sure that the speakers that we have today in our opening ceremony will highlight many of the numerous challenges that are being witnessed. So I'm very much looking forward to the meeting. And in that context, and now without further delay, I'd very much like to pass on the virtual floor to the chairman of the Gulf Research Center, Dr. Abdulaziz Sagar, for his opening remarks.
Good morning, good afternoon, good day, good evening. It depends in which part of the world you are. Thank you very much, Dr. Christian Koch, for your introductory remark. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all and to thank you all for participating virtually this year on the Gulf Research Meeting. This is our 11th conference on the Gulf Research Meeting. The past 10, it was always physical. People have attended at Cambridge University, and it was great pleasure to welcome more than 3,500 researchers from 87 countries that have participated and presented thousands of research papers that have really enriched the content about the Gulf studies and make it really the hub for the Gulf studies and for the Gulf research. We all have suffered from this pandemic. This is the second year that we are going through it. In fact, the past 18 months was not really easy. It was very difficult, but despite of that, great effort on research remains in every party and everybody all over the world. In fact, researchers became far more important than what they used to be, because from not only from the scientist part of view and the infectious disease research that was conducted all over the world, but also from the social studies part. Governments, decision makers need to understand the impact of the COVID-19 economically, socially, politically, which also this was a great job by the researchers. This year, we have more than 300 researchers participating in 11 workshops with us, and this 11 workshop deals with a different subject, starting from the environment to energy to also political, the Gulf relation to the US, the Gulf relation to Russia, also on the regional security industry, the business. So it's a quite wide, and also including culture, research. I'm very pleased to see, despite of the difficulty, despite of the thing that technology have enabled us really to maintain this link and to maintain the relation to the participant. I would like certainly to thank all my colleagues at the Gulf Research Center for all their effort, but also to thank the chair and the co-chair of all the workshop, also all the participants. They have put effort and time to enlighten us about the various and the different subjects and so on. A very special thank from my side goes to His Highness Prince Faisal Farhan, the Saudi Foreign Minister, whom we're still trying to see if he can make it with us now or no, due to his change in his travel schedule. But in case if he cannot make it, I am sure we will get his speech and deliver it to you through internet, and also through the Twitter, through the website also of the Gulf Research Center. And a very special thanks also goes to His Excellency Dr. Nayef Al-Hajraf, the Secretary General of the Gulf Cooperation Council, for his continuous support and endorsement of all the GRC activity. And a very special thanks also goes to His Excellency Dr. Sheikh Mohammed Al-Issa, the Secretary General of the World Islamic League, that have accepted to participate with us, and we are very thankful to all of them. Also to Professor Sims from the University of Cambridge, who represent the Vice Chancellor in his talk, and also he's the Director of the Geopolitical Center at the Cambridge University. A very dear friend, Dr. John Duke Anthony, who's really have attended all the previous Gulf Research meetings, the last 10 one physically. He used to travel from Washington to Cambridge. He never missed one of them. And he was a great, scholars participating with paper discussion, also with his wisdom and knowledge about the international relations subject. So my thanks goes to all of them. And I really wish you the best, and also the beloved one. And I hope we will overcome the COVID-19 quite soon. At the same time, I'd like to tell you that next year in July, between the 23rd and just let me make sure with the date so I don't make a mistake. So because I want you to pencil the date for next year, that we're going to be at Cambridge University between the 14th to 17th of July. Hopefully it will be, we will attend it physical, so that we will all be, there attending the GRM, the Gulf Research Meeting. Again, thank you very much, and I wish you all the best, and also wish all the director and the participant on the different workshop all the best for the discussion today and tomorrow, and look forward to see you next year. All the best, and take care. Thank you, Dr. Koch.
And thank you, Dr. Sagar. And thank you especially for your continued commitment to support and maintain the Gulf Research Meeting. I think it's an integral part, of course, of informed debate about the Gulf. And the fact that GRM is now in its 11th year, I think also underlines the importance of the gathering. Now, as you mentioned, we at the GRC are extremely grateful to a number of dignitaries who are joining us today in this opening ceremony to share their views and thoughts on the region. I think their testimony itself, their participation, I think, is testimony to the need for exchange and discussion about the many topics and issues that really define the changing nature of the Gulf and the broader Middle East. And we're, of course, very honored to have them with us here today and look forward to their thoughts and statements. Now, as Chairman Dr. Sagar already mentioned, unfortunately, due to his busy flying schedule and number of diplomatic commitments, the remarks by His Highness Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al-Saud, the Foreign Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, did not reach us in time, but we will make sure to upload these remarks as soon as we receive them on the GRM portal, and to share with them, with you, once they are available. I'm sure they are going to be of high interest, and we very much look forward to having them. So apologies for this little changed circumstances, but we will still have the remarks online as soon as possible. I would therefore then like to pass the floor to His Excellency Dr. Nayef Falah bin Al-Hajraf, the Secretary General of the Cooperation Council of the Arab States of the Gulf. His predecessor as Secretary General, His Excellency Dr. Abdulatif Rashid Al-Zayani, was a strong supporter of the GRM, and he always made an effort to speak at the GRM opening ceremony all the years that we went in Cambridge in a personal way. So we're extremely grateful to His Excellency Dr. Al-Hajraf to continue this tradition, and we now look very much forward to his remarks.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I am very pleased to participate in the Gulf Research Center Cambridge meeting, which is held virtually for the second year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And I would like to thank Dr. Abdulaziz bin Sagar and his team at the Gulf Research Center for their hard work to keep the meeting on schedule. The year 2020, like no other year, have changed our life. The world after COVID-19 will be different than the world before. However, we have to face the new and unprecedented challenges for many years to come, as well as to identify the new opportunities. One very important lesson we have learned since the pandemic, that working together in solidarity is the only way to face these challenges, as no country can work in isolation and no country is capable to face it alone. Although every country and individual can talk about their experience during the pandemic, which is still a top priority, yet other challenges required our collective and undivided attention. Having said that, today's meeting provides the right platform to address some of these challenges, in which I would like to focus on the Gulf region. May 25th, 2021 marked the 40th anniversary of the Gulf Cooperation Council, known as the GCC, an organization that has been playing a very important role to stabilize and maintain the peace and security for the region and the world. Over the last 40 years, the GCC engaged constructively with the international community to fulfill its obligation to combat terrorism and to adopt a very responsible and balanced energy policy, which takes in account the interests of both the producers and the consumers, and to answer the calls for any humanitarian and development aids needed. At the same time, and at the domestic front, the GCC member states demonstrate national development plans addressing a human capital, economic diversification, and a quality living standard, along with a major infrastructure uplifting to support the development plans. Needless to say that the last 40 years wasn't a challenge-free. However, the GCC journey remains focused and stable. Looking forward, a new challenge emerged and remain real. In addition to the challenges imposed by the pandemic, the region's security, which is very important to the world security, needs to be addressed. While the GCC remains committed to maintain and enhance the regional security, we would like to share our concerns, which remains valid and urgent. The situation in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen represent a clear and direct threat to the regional security and stability. The GCC stands firm in supporting the adherence of international law and the UN Charter. The GCC is an advocate of respecting the international sovereignty and not to intervene in other countries' domestic affairs. Unfortunately, the above is just an example of the Iranian behavior to destabilize the region, not to mention Iran's nuclear program, Iran ballistic missiles, and Iran supporting two militias, all of which should be addressed at Vienna talks, not only the JCPOA. Ladies and gentlemen, the economic integration comes at the top of the GCC fifth decade agenda. It is our priority to enhance the GCC leading positions in the region and beyond. Last year, we all witnessed Saudi Arabia presidency of G20. Dubai and United Arab Emirates is hosting Expo 2020, which is due this October. Qatar is hosting FIFA World Cup in 2022. The vision and development plans across the GCC member states create the right momentum to focus on the future and to capitalize on the opportunities. In conclusion, we will continue our effort to address and deal with the regional challenges to protect our interests. And at the same time, we will continue our effort to implement our plans for a better future for us and for the region. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, Dr. Al-Hajraf. You really did highlight many important issues in your short statement, including, of course, for the region, the prioritization right now of economic integration and the various vision and development plans that will guide the GCC states in the near future, especially in the post-pandemic time period. But I think you also gave us an important statement in terms of the regional security situation, where you stated that the GCC states, of course, have concerns that are, and I quote here, valid and urgent. And I think that is certainly something that we need to keep in mind. And you also reminded us very well that the last 40 years haven't been challenge-free. So one should not expect the future to be any different in that sense. I would like to now pass the floor on to His Excellency Sheikh Dr. Mohammed bin Abdulkarim Al-Issa, the Secretary General of the World Muslim League. It's truly a deep honor that you are able to be with us today, and we are also looking forward very much to your statement.
الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد، سعادة الدكتور عبد العزيز بن عثمان بن صقر، مؤسس ورئيس مركز الخليج للأبحاث، أصحاب الفضيلة والمعالي والسعادة، أيها السيدات والسادة، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يسعدني أن أشارك هذا الجمع المتميز معربا عن التقدير الكبير للجهود التي يبذلها مركز الخليج للأبحاث في تقديم المعرفة في منطقة الخليج العربي، وذلك عبر أعماله البحثية عالية الجودة وعبر دراساته الجادة والمفيدة وإسهاماته المتميزة، وذلك طبعا فيما يخص الشأن السياسي والاقتصادي ومكافحة الإرهاب وحماية البيئة وتطوير التعليم، والتي حظي من أجلها بالمرتبة 39 بعد 100 في التصنيف العالمي لمراكز البحث حول العالم، والبالغ عددها 11,175 مركزا بحثيا. السادة والسيدات، الحضور الكريم، ارتبطت النشأة المؤسسية الأولى لمراكز البحوث والدراسات ارتبطت بتطور الثورة العلمية في أوروبا، والتي كانت إحدى ثمار الثورة الصناعية الحديثة. ومن أهم المراكز أو المعاهد البحثية والتي لها تاريخ عريق معهد كارنيجي للسلام الدولي، وذلك عام 1910 ميلادي، ثم معهد بروكينغز في عام 1916، وهو المركز المتربع على صدارة تصنيف جامعة بنسلفانيا للمراكز البحثية حول العالم ولعدة أعوام. وكذلك معهد جالوب في عام 1920 ميلادي، ليتوالى تأسيس هذه المراكز بتسارع، وذلك في طفرة تنافسية عكست الحقيقة اهتمام دول العالم بأهمية البحث العلمي في تطورها وريادتها واستشراف مستقبلها بإذن الله عز وجل. ولكن هذه المراكز تتطلب كفاءة عالية، وهذه الكفاءة ترتكز عناصرها على الاستقراء الكامل والدقة التامة في الرصد والتحليل الجيد، أيضا إضافة إلى المصداقية والحياد التام. ولكننا نجد مع الأسف عددا من مراكز البحث العالمية تجمع معلومات غير متكاملة ولا دقيقة. تجد التقرير المكون مثلا من مجلد عن دولة ما أو مؤسسة ما، بينما لم تتم زيارة تلك الدولة ولا المؤسسة حتى يتم الاطلاع على التفاصيل من خلال استطلاعات ميدانية متعمقة. وغالبا ما تعتمد التقارير على كتابات بحثية وإعلامية كثير منها مرتجل وتنقصه الدقة، وفي كثير من الأحوال ينقصه الحياد أيضا، وهذا أمر خطير. وقد اطلعت بنفسي على تقارير لمؤسسات كبرى، مؤسسات بحثية، مؤسسات الاستشراف، وترتكز تقاريرها على معلومات خاطئة تماما، أو أن تلك المعلومات تغيرت سواء بالكامل أو تغير بعضها، وهذا يجعل نتيجة التقرير مبنية على معلومات خاطئة، ربما تضليل أيضا، أحيانا متعمد. وهذا لا يشكك في التقرير لوحده، بل أيضا يشكك في المؤسسة أو المركز البحثي بشكل عام. وللأسف هذا يحصل من مراكز ومؤسسات كبرى، ولهذا كثيرا ما تورط تلك المراكز والمؤسسات البحثية، تورط المؤسسات الحكومية أو الأهلية أو حتى الأممية، تورطها في مزالق، وهذا أمر يجب التنبؤ له. والدول العربية تنبهت في منتصف القرن الماضي إلى أهمية الدراسات البحثية، وأنشأت مراكز في الجامعات والوزارات، طبعا علاوة على المراكز المستقلة. ويقدر عددها اليوم بحسب تصنيف جامعة بنسلفانيا بحوالي 350 مركزا بحثيا عربيا، وهو رقم طبعا قليل إذا قورن ب 1900 مركز بحثي في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية و2500 في أوروبا. لا يخفى أن تأمين المعرفة الصحيحة يعتبر موردا مهما للغاية للدول أو المؤسسات الخاصة، بل وللمؤسسات الأممية، تتخذ طبعا على ضوئه قرارات ربما كانت مصيرية. وهذا ما يجعلنا نقول إن ما يصدر عن تلك المراكز والمعاهد يجب أن يكون على مستوى من الدقة والحياد. ونبهنا على أهمية أن تكون الاستطلاعات والاستقراءات على مستوى عال حتى يمكن الوثوق بما تقدمه من دراسات. لا أطيل عليكم، ولكن في الختام أقدم شكري الجزيل للمشاركة منظما بجهود مركز الخليج للأبحاث، ونقدر الجهود الكبيرة التي يقوم بها هذا المركز، راجيا المولى جل وعلا للجميع التوفيق والنجاح، وأن تصدر توصيات ملهمة للآخرين وتضيء الطريق في هذا الشأن المهم. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Okay, thank you very much to His Excellency, Dr. Sheikh Mohammed Al-Issa. I believe that the emphasis that you placed on the need for accuracy, impartiality, and proper analysis is of course something that GRM has always been based on as we engage on research in the region. And I second your wish stated at the end of your statement that the meeting issue recommendations that will inspire others and light the path forward. It's certainly something that we should always have as an objective. Of course, you know, we're not able to gather physically this year to enjoy the surroundings of the University of Cambridge, all of its wonderful colleges, and the gatherings we've had in the past, especially in King's College Dining Hall when we all get together. The Gulf Research Center has always placed a very strong emphasis on a fruitful relationship with the university, and we certainly look forward to enhancing that relationship further in the near future. And therefore, we're very grateful to have Professor Brendan Sims with us today from the university. Professor Sims is Professor of History of European International Relations and Director of the Center for Geopolitics in the Department of Political and International Studies. Professor Sims, the floor will be yours now.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is a great honor to be asked to say a few opening words to the renowned Gulf Research Meeting. I would like to welcome you in the name of the university. In particular, I would like to welcome back Dr. Abdulaziz Sagar, the distinguished founder and chairman of the Gulf Research Center. The Vice-Chancellor, Professor Stephen Toop, sends his warmest wishes and expresses a strong hope that you will be able to meet again in person in Cambridge next year. As you all know, this annual event is an important fixture in the calendar of the Gulf region and of course of this university. The output of the Gulf Research Meeting has been prodigious, with more than 45 edited books and no fewer than 300 published academic papers. Your work chimes with that of my own, much more modest organization, which is the Centre for Geopolitics here at Cambridge. We are linked through your trustees, Stuart Lang and Jeffrey Edwards, and of course through John Svakianakis, who gave an excellent lecture to the Centre just before the pandemic broke. I was very kindly asked to share our vision for the region. This is expressed through our research and engagement project, Westphalia for the Middle East. Now, as a non-specialist, I would not dream of lecturing you on your region. So rather than speaking of a vision, let me share very briefly an inspiration and express a hope. Our inspiration is the Treaty of Westphalia, which brought the infamous 30 Years' War to an end. This was a conflict which had pitted Germans against each other, principally over politics, constitution, and religion, and sucked in outside powers. It was uniquely destructive. The Treaty of Westphalia in 1648 did not end these conflicts, but substantially detoxified the region by channeling tensions into a legal space. Germany as a whole, and individual territories, towns, and even places of worship within Germany became what we call shared spaces, in which minority, religions, princes, corporate bodies, and ordinary inhabitants had their rights enshrined and safeguarded. All this was placed under international guarantee and was mutually and reciprocally guaranteed by the contracting parties themselves. To this extent, the widespread view that Westphalia marked the emergence of the modern sovereign state, exempt from outside interference, could not be further from the truth. The key to peace, in fact, was shared and therefore limited sovereignty. Like Germany in the first half of the 17th century, the present-day Middle East has long been racked by a series of interlocking domestic and international conflicts. In many states across the region, Sunni and Shia face off against each other, conflicts which are overlain and exacerbated by the rivalry between Saudi Arabia and Iran and those between outside powers. Our hope is that the Middle East can be similarly reconceived as a shared space, politically, religiously, and in other ways. Peace in the Middle East cannot be imposed by external powers. It must come from the region itself. The peacemaking mechanisms and diplomatic techniques that proved effective in Westphalia can provide inspiration for how this might be done in practice. Peace will likely require a comprehensive settlement, embracing, like Westphalia, all of the major parties, inside and outside the region, into a multilateral congress. Piecemeal solutions have not worked. As was the case in Germany in the 1640s, the array of conflicts and grievances in the Middle East now is more complex and interwoven than can be successfully addressed with completely disconnected sets of negotiations aimed at solving one or other territorial part of the regional problem. Negotiations should focus on harmonizing interests and on achieving crisis diffusion, rather than matters of principle. Patience, of course, is key. It is often the experience of the peace process that can achieve the necessary shifts in mindsets and a minimum level of trust. The willingness of the bigger players to guarantee every aspect of the settlement, even those that do not affect them individually, ought to be signalled at an early stage in order to instill confidence in the viability of the negotiations. The late Michael Axworthy, the renowned Iran expert, Patrick Milton, the Westphalia Fellow, and I set out this approach in our book Towards a Westphalia for the Middle East, and its themes were much discussed in Foreign Affairs, Foreign Policy, The New Statesman, and other fora. If a solution is not found soon, we fear that the 30 years war in the Middle East will not be the decades of strife which lie behind us, but an awful future which stretches ahead. Of course, many of these subjects have been addressed by the GRM at previous meetings, and no doubt will be much discussed over the next couple of days. The pandemic has destroyed so much, but I'm glad to see that it has not quenched your thirst for knowledge and informed debate. Your Excellencies, Dr. Seger, ladies and gentlemen, I wish you all a productive conference.
Thank you very much, Professor Sims. Again, you listed a number of important points in your remarks in terms of a regional security mechanism, including the need to conceive the region as a shared space, the fact that peace must come from within and cannot be imposed from the outside, and that there still will be a need for international guarantees. As you mentioned, the subject of a regional security process has already been the subject of several workshops at the Gulf Research Meeting, and we certainly aim to enhance that debate further, not only at GRM, but also in other projects that the GRC pursues. So thank you again for your remarks. It's now my pleasure to call on Dr. John Duke Anthony, the founding president and chief executive officer of the National Council on U.S.-Arab Relations, to provide us with his thoughts on the importance of the GCC. Dr. Anthony has had the privilege to attend all GCC summit meetings as an observer, and thus can really provide us with a unique perspective. He's also been one of the strongest supporters of the GRM from its start, as Dr. Saga already mentioned, and he certainly would have been with us in Cambridge this year had we held the meeting in person. But Dr. Anthony, it's absolutely great to have you with us once again, and we'd also look forward to your remarks.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dr. John Duke Anthony. I'm the founding president and chief executive officer of the National Council on U.S.-Arab Relations, established in 1983 as a non-governmental, non-profit educational foundation. It's my privilege to be asked to join Dr. Abdulaziz Al-Sakr, the founding president of the Gulf Research Center, and Dr. Christian Cox, the director of research operations for the GRC, and the Secretary Generals of the Gulf Cooperation Council and the Muslim World League, along with the Foreign Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the representative of Cambridge University in Cambridge, the United Kingdom. I've been asked to focus on what have been the achievements of the Gulf Cooperation Council, this being its 40th anniversary. I think it could be of benefit and value if one focuses on three separate chronological blocks of time, where I've been privileged to be the only American invited as an observer to each of the 40 GCC ministerial and heads of state summit. The first chronological block would be the Iran-Iraq War of 1980 to 1988. The second one would be 1979 to 1989, having to do with Afghanistan. And the third one having to do with the Kuwait crisis of 1990-1991. With regard to the first one, the Iran-Iraq War of 1980 to 1988, this was a death on the doorstep of all 6 of the GCC countries that worried that deterrence might not work. And if deterrence didn't work, then maybe defense didn't work. But they worked assiduously with the 5 permanent members of the United Nations Security Council, as those countries worked assiduously with the 6 GCC countries, with its secretariat, and particularly the Secretary General of the redoubtable Abdullah bin Yaqub Bishara. And on July the 15th, 1987, for the first time since the Korean War, there was a unanimous resolution by the United Nations Security Council, all 15 members, including the GCC, to allow for a ceasefire and the placement of American flags on tankers going to and coming from Kuwait. And the second one, in the case of Afghanistan, working closely with Pakistan and especially Saudi Arabia and the other 5 GCC countries, the achievement was to drive the last nail in the coffin of the Red Army, and thereafter, within a matter of months, to hasten the collapse of the Soviet Union and thereby the end of a 7-year attempt by Moscow to extend atheistic, godless communism to the rest of the world as an alternative, as a form of governmental structure and political dynamics. And the last being 1991, in response to Iraq's invasion of Kuwait on August the 2nd of 1990, the GCC country met within 20 hours to pass a unanimous resolution condemning what Iraq had done and calling for its reversal. And those 6 votes together were added together quickly with the League of Arab States, 2 votes to make 8, adding with Syria and Egypt. And then those 8 votes were added to Jordan's and Morocco's fellow dynasties, making for 10, and Djibouti coming for 11, which made the majority of the Arab League's nations to geopolitically hand a resounding symbolic political defeat to Baghdad and hasten Iraq being on their defense to a greater degree than before. Nearly 600,000 armed forces were mobilized, along with 34 countries, in an internationally concerted action to restore Kuwait's national sovereignty, political independence, and territorial integrity. These, I would submit, are no small achievements. They are monumental accomplishments that would not have occurred, arguably, except for the GCC working in concert with its allies, its friends, its strategic partners.
Thank you, Dr. Anthony. In particular, I think for reminding us of 3 critical moments in which the GCC was challenged beyond means, but responded with solidarity and togetherness to overcome some critical moments in the region's history. I think indeed that's something to keep in mind as the GCC confronts new challenges and embarks on its 5th decade of existence, as pointed out earlier by His Excellency Dr. Hajraf. That concludes the series of opening statements at this year's GRM. I want to thank all the speakers for their remarks and the readiness to share their thoughts with us. I am sure we will go back to some of these speeches again to read them more thoroughly. There was a lot of content here, and I think that we need to reflect on. Let me now turn the microphone back over to Dr. Sagar for some concluding points for this opening session.
Thank you very much, Dr. Koch. I think I'd like to comment by the following. First, to thank our distinguished speakers for all their comment and very useful insight. And second, I must say that this year, 2021, is a very special year. It started in January with the Al-Ula summit, which was a very important summit that brought the rest of the Gulf countries together after some sort of differences. I would call it, between different countries in the GCC, but by the attendance of His Highness Sheikh Tamim Al Thani, the ruler of Qatar, to Al-Ula meeting was a very important event. At the same time, this is the 40th anniversary of the GCC in May. It's the 40th anniversary of the GCC Foundation, which is very important. And I'm thankful to His Excellency Dr. Al-Hajraf by mentioning that economic integration is the next decade focus, with the regional security, of course, focus, and looking at the welfare of the people of the Gulf countries. Third, this is also the 30th anniversary, unfortunately, of Iraq invasion to Kuwait and liberating of Kuwait. Alhamdulillah, this is a very important also issue. And again, this is the 2nd year of the pandemic, that we are, going through. So 2021 is a special year. And at the same time, it's for the first time we try to have more than 300 participants in different workshops digitally from different parts of the world, focusing and things. And thanks to the technology that allowed us, to be together and to use it this way. As we have said before, once we get the note from His Highness Prince Faisal, we will make sure it's available in the website. And so we understand his travel schedule, and that did not, permit him to be with us live, today, but we understand that, and that can happen. Again, I would like to thank all the participants from all over the world, and they're with us today here, and wish them a very successful focus on their workshop and papers. And you can always find the publication that we do after the GRM available on our website there, so you can visit it and look at that one. Look forward to see everybody next year physically in Cambridge. Thank you very much, and stay safe, and all the best for everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Sagar. And I concur, of course, with your concluding remarks. Now that concludes the GRM opening session 2021. It's now time to start the real work. And everyone, I wish successful workshops with lots of engaging discussion and debate. Now the GRC team is ready to assist anybody that might face the one or the other technical issue, but I'm sure we're all professionals now in the virtual space, so that shouldn't be a problem, and everything will proceed very smoothly. But thank you again for all of your attention, for your attendance, and I wish everybody a great 2021 Gulf Research Meeting.